Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Daily Roto NBA Daily Fantasy Show. I'm Davis Maddock, joined by Christopher Pacheco. We got a bear of an 11-game slate. We have Amazon Web Services and Google making Pacheco's job basically the most difficult that it could possibly be. Right? There's not really a way that they could have made things more difficult for you today. But we're gonna power through this 11-game slate, Pacheco.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I am a very optimistic person and pretty positive and laid back. I'm telling you right now, I can't imagine a worse set of events happening here late in NBA season, having to deal with all these teams also kind of being just broken. We also got news that LeBron, who was likely to play tonight, is going to be out now for the Lakers. So that's a little bit of a shocker because he was making such good progress, but now who knows where he is on that timeline.
Yeah. So I think that we need to just dive into it. I think we gotta just start running through these 11 games. The first one, Denver at Charlotte. For Charlotte, Bridges is out, Hayward is out, Devontae Graham is questionable. He's iffy to play, but practice on Monday morning, and then Cody Martin remains out for Denver. The normal guys are out. Barton, Dozier. They basically been playing a very condensed rotation in the backcourt. Austin Rivers has been playing 35 minutes a night. Facundo Campazzo has been on fire. 36, 30, 47, and 34 DraftKings points over the last 4 games. But I mean, obviously, the guy we are most interested in this game is it's Nikola Jokic. I mean, Jokic is just he's an absolute monster all the time. But especially since the removal of Jamal Murray from the lineup, he is the alpha and omega for the Denver Nuggets offense.
Yeah, absolutely. What I would say there, Davis, on Denver and just the playoff implications for this game, because I think we definitely want to talk about that as we go through each game, see what each team has to play for at this point of the season. You know, Denver right now is sitting in 4th place with the possibility of going into 3rd. As the playoff season gets here shortly. They're only trailing the Clippers by a game. There's essentially they can move to 5th or 6th. They are like 4 games ahead of Dallas. Almost 5 ahead of the Blazers. So they're pretty much locked into 3 or 4 at this point. So, technically speaking, they still have some incentive to play for the 3rd seed. But Charlotte, on the other side of this one, Davis, doesn't really have much to play for at this point, because the real movement that they could have is dropping to 9th or 10th if they finish off the season in a really bad way. Or if they finish, like if they do well, they could push the Celtics out of the 7th spot. Celtics had horrible news that Jaylen Brown's going to be out for the remainder of the season, so their season is essentially done. They're going to go to the playoffs, but they're washed. They're not going to be able to make any noise. So there's not much that the Hornets can do at this point, and now they get Devontae Graham back potentially into this rotation. I think LaMelo and Rozier are guys that are pretty secure. Someone like Malik Monk, Caleb Martin, Brad Wanamaker, we've seen bigger minutes out of these guys lately. They're going to start to scale back with the Devontae Graham back. I still think Devontae is going to be coming off the bench, so you still should get LaMelo and Rozier starting. But obviously, Graham back, it will impact that rotation. Denver might get Monte Morris back. That's something that could shake up their guard rotation a little bit. They could certainly welcome, another plus guard with Austin Rivers and Shaquille Harrison playing the amount of minutes that they have. So I think Campazzo is the safest of that bunch. I think Morris will likely be limited as he returns. He's probably not going to be in the DFS conversation. He really nailed the Denver side of things. It's Jokic. It's a good matchup. He's the one that stands out the most here. I think LaMelo is another guy on this game, as well as Rozier, if you can find a good price tag that you could play from a DFS perspective.
Yeah, this just does not seem like a bonanza game. And in fact, while you were talking about Denver seeding, I was thinking they actually probably would rather be 4 or 5 because if they're 3,
Mhm.
there's a chance that that means they would play the Lakers in the first round, which they would
Right.
rather avoid. They would probably prefer to stay out of the way of the Lakers. So I actually don't even think it would even be out of the question to see not a 39-minute game from Jokic, 40 minutes
Mhm.
from Michael Porter Jr. I think that they might even rest those guys a little bit down the stretch in order to specifically stay at 4 or 5, depending on how this game goes. I don't see
Mhm.
this as a particularly great DFS spot. So I think we should go ahead and move on to Minnesota and Detroit. Detroit, I mean, this has got to be one of the biggest thorn in your side teams every single night. So Corey
Mhm.
Joseph is out. Wayne Ellington is out. Magruder's out. Dennis Smith Jr. is out. We know that. We have Josh Jackson as questionable. He's been out for the last 4 games. We have Frank Jackson as questionable. He started on Sunday against Chicago, but left after only 8 minutes due to an ankle injury. Jeremy Grant is out. Hamidou Diallo is out. And Mason Plumlee is out of this game as well. On the Minnesota side, Malik Beasley is out, and that's really their big injury spot. Karl Anthony Towns is obviously rating favorable for us. Anthony Edwards remains. I mean, he just is the quintessential tournament guy. We're like literally range of outcomes of like
Mhm.
28 DK points to 60 DK points. The player I am most interested in this game, Pacheco, is of course none other than Beef Stew. He's very fairly priced now. Do you think he has any minutes upside? The most he's played is
Mhm.
32, but I'm wondering if you think he's got any minutes upside past that, or do you think basically they'll play some Tyler Cook, they'll play some Jahlil Okafor or whoever, just so that his minutes upside maxes out at about 32?
This is Isaiah Stewart that you're asking about, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yeah, we we haven't seen it. We
Yeah.
haven't seen it at all. Uh, Stewart is also a guy that can get into some foul trouble here and there, and that's when he starts to play minutes in the 20s. But he's pretty safe in the 28 to 32 range, as long as he can avoid foul trouble. Beyond that, you're probably not going to get anything. But that's still a fine range as long as you're getting, decent price tags on him. And that's a challenge, right? 6,400 on DraftKings, 6,200 on FanDuel. But I still think, he deserves a look here in tournaments, even though you're probably not getting more than 32 minutes. Detroit now with potentially Josh Jackson back is a little bit nightmarish. Frank Jackson barely played last game. He is dealing with an injury. Uh, and so the good thing I would say on the Detroit side is Corey Joseph being out. I think that essentially stabilizes the point guard minutes for Killian Hayes and Saban Lee. And Hayes would be the guy that you'd want on that split. He's very well in the conversation of 30 plus minutes in the slate. What I'm seeing from him that I don't like is the decent price tags. He's over 5K on both sites. I think he's a reasonable play, but the ceiling hasn't been that great on him because he's not a big usage rate player. He will assist a good bit though, so that's something to keep in mind. Minnesota, Cat, Dar, Edwards, those are really the guys that you're considering. I saw that McDaniels is not going to start. He'll be coming off the bench, which
Hmm.
gives Vanderbilt maybe another opportunity here to shine again. As we saw in some of these games, he could put stocks together in a hurry.
Yeah.
So if you find, 4,600 on DraftKings, I thought was pretty decent. 5,200 on FanDuel is starting to push it, but given the upside, I don't mind that one. Obviously, the top three, Cat, Dar, and Edwards are the guys that you want to target here.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, some of these Minnesota secondary guys, because Detroit's just so bad, turnovers, they're going to give
Yep.
up a ton of points. I mean, you could take some stabs on, on Naz Reid, McDaniels, or Vanderbilt, but it's not like you're not feeling great about it. I don't think it's a spot to stab on
Mhm.
like 24 minutes of really productive Rubio minutes. It feels like 11 game slate. There's just way better
Right.
spots than that. So if we don't have anything else on that game, we can move to Miami at Boston. And yeah, just a bummer here for the Boston Celtics losing Jaylen Brown. Robert Williams not going to play in this game. So Tristan Thompson, of course, will come in and play for him. Now, do we think it's going to be Fournier, Pritchard, Waters, Neesmith? Who do we think is going to come in for Jaylen Brown here? And really, it doesn't matter because, as we've seen, it literally does not matter. Like, it does not matter who replaces the fourth starter on the wing because Tatum, Smart, and Kemba will just soak up all that extra usage. The one guy I could see it mattering for is if Waters or Langford starts, maybe you'd be a little bit interested in Fournier coming off the bench because he's been getting the shots up. It seems like he is finally starting to recover from that bout of COVID. He had 51 DraftKings points on 16 shots against Miami on the 9th. Got up 11 shots against Chicago, 14 against Orlando, and that was only in 14 minutes. So I think Fournier is an MME sprinkle guy, but I actually like him less if he starts, though.
Yeah, his rates have been rebounding here pretty nicely. The assist rate has been something that disappeared in Boston, and it's now been coming up, which, I mean, you really do want to see that, especially on an 11-game slate. If you're taking a stab on a guy, make sure the opportunity is there, not just the minutes, but someone that can put up, a decent point total, maybe sprinkle in some assists. I think that's what Fournier can do now. I just don't like the price tags that I'm seeing, especially on FanDuel. 6,200 now is asking for Orlando Fournier, and that's just not what he's been with Boston, and nor will he get that sort of opportunity, right? Regardless of whether he starts or comes off the bench. So have an issue with his price tags. I do think Tatum, Kemba, who's been playing a bunch here of late, obviously, Smart. I guess on FanDuel, I'd give him a stab at 6K. On DraftKings, probably not. But I think those guys for a ceiling are the guys that you're targeting in Boston. Outside of that, I just don't think you can do anything else.
Yeah, I mean, and to be clear, Tatum, Smart, Kemba, all of those guys have enhanced ceilings tonight, and I think they will all be plays. But it's not an obvious spot where you are. It's not an obvious spot where you would be looking for
multiple guys.
Or the injury replacement to be the guy. That's a lot of times it's player X is out, then player Y is a play. I don't think it's like that for the Celtics. On the Heat side, they are fully healthy now, basically for the first time in a long time. Victor Oladipo remains out, but they have their backcourt rotation of Dragic, Nunn, Hierro, Duncan Robinson. And then their wing rotation of Butler, Robinson, Ariza, Iguodala, and then their normal center rotation. So Bam and Jimmy are a little bit interesting here. I don't think Dragic, Nunn, or Hierro seem like plays on this slate hardly at all. I mean, 11 games, we got plenty of value.
I'm completely in agreement with you there on the Miami side. Think Jimmy, given where Miami is on the standings right now, which, I mean, they're sitting in sixth place right now. Davis, obviously, they're not going to be part of the plan. They're going to finish as a top 6 team, but all of a sudden, they are trailing the Knicks, who are in fourth in the East. They're trailing them by a game. They're trailing Atlanta by half a game. Miami's getting healthier here. They might make a legitimate push for a top 4 spot. I believe that they want that. You are going if they finish 6th, you're facing the Bucks in the first round. If they finish top 4, they're probably going to face the Hawks if they can push. So expect them to play big minutes, especially Jimmy. I would have some interest there, even though the price tags are up on him right now.
Yeah, I mean, we could see this could be a spot where Jimmy plays like crazy minutes. Yeah, 39, 40 minutes, gets 20 shots off. And I mean, his results have been really good recently anyways, 57, 52 points over his last 2 games. I think his usage and minutes should stay about stable. All right, our first tankathon spot of the night, the Los Angeles Clippers playing at the Toronto Raptors. No Fred VanVleet. No Kyle Lowry, no Rodney Hood, no Paul Watson, no Pascal Siakam, no OG Anunoby. Chris Boucher has been upgraded to questionable. He had a sprained left knee, hasn't played in the last 9 games. It would be very bizarre to me for them to rest their entire starting 5 and then bring back Boucher for this game. Maybe they do just because they want Boucher to get the experience and the minutes. It would be odd, but whatever. They might do it. And I guess the only member of their starting 5 who's going to play tonight is going to be Kem Birch, who is up to $6,200 on DraftKings. So we have Trent, we have Flynn, we have Bembry, maybe Watanabe. Where are we looking at? Or are any of these guys even values? Because Trent and Flynn really are priced up kind of appropriate for their role and for the spread of this game. So it's not even a spot. Watanabe looks like the guy who would start and is not priced for a starting role.
Yeah, pretty much. And he might give you like 27, 30 minutes. It's just that he doesn't do anything. From a ceiling perspective, it's like, you might be able to get 25 to 28 type, or maybe 30 if he runs hot on stocks. But you know what I mean? The ceiling, he's not an offensive player. On the year, he has something like a 12% usage rate. So you get what you pay for, essentially there. Flynn and Trent are guys that are not priced appropriately on FanDuel, Davis. And so, $4,900 for Trent Jr. on FanDuel, shooting guard eligible. That looks pretty good for a guy that's going to have a pretty darn high usage rate tonight. Flynn is $5K, starting point guard, will have the ball in his hands so much more because now it's FVV, Lowry, and Siakam out. He's going to have to generate offense. He hasn't been good lately. His minutes have been hurt as a result because they're playing Jalen Harris more as well. Here's the thing. If Boucher misses his game, they're down to 8 guys available. They don't have any more than that. So from a minutes perspective, you're going to feel good on a lot of these guys, kind of how we felt about Houston very recently because they were only playing 7, 8 guys. But the ceiling on some of these guys is pretty worrisome, and especially when you start to tack on these really big price tags on DraftKings. It's a concern, as well as the matchup against the Clippers. It's not a good one whatsoever. The total is kind of saying that they only have like a 106, 107 total in this spot.
Yeah, and as far as the Clippers, I mean, they're giant favorites. Mega blowout is incoming. I mean, gosh darn it, I forgot the name of the Raptors G League affiliate, but this is basically the Clippers who need a win. Well, I don't know. Maybe the Clippers are trying to tank out so they're able to avoid the Lakers, but they're going to win this game. But they would certainly love to be able to rest. They would certainly love to be able to play Paul George or Kawhi Leonard, 28, 30 minutes here instead of 34, 35 minutes. And they are fully healthy as well. The full backcourt rotation, Reggie Jackson, Rondo, Mann, and Beverly, all good to go. George, Kawhi, Kennard, Marcus Morris, all their wings good to go. The only guy who's out for them is Ibaka. Is there? I guess Kawhi at $8,300 in tournaments. Man, his ceiling. He has no 60-pointers in his game logs. No 60-pointers in April or May to this point. I'm not really that interested in Kawhi or Paul George.
I hear you. The thing is, these guys are going to be really low owned for an 11 gamer. There is a game theory angle that you can play there from an ownership perspective. I agree with you on Kawhi in terms of the ceiling, especially with George. We just haven't seen it this season for a lot of these games. The thing is, at that price, you don't need the 60. It would be good if you just get mid 50s. So if you believe that he has that right now within his range of outcomes, I think it's still playable. Because of the tags, $8,300 for Kawhi on DraftKings, $8,900 for George on DraftKings, and then they're even cheaper on FanDuel. Does it feel bad because of who they're playing? Yeah, it does for an 11 gamer. It absolutely does. But you could just play 8% of these guys in MME, and you still be doubling up the field. So it's not horrible. I just don't think you can do any other I don't think you could do any other Clipper. I know Cousins is really cheap at 3,600. We just haven't really seen the big minutes. I mean, shoot, he could do 18 to 20 minutes and kind of fill up the box score, but it's an 11-game slate. It's going to be tough.
Yeah. All right. Philadelphia at Indiana. For Philadelphia, Korkmaz not playing. Thibault not playing. Joel Embiid is listed as questionable, but Embiid's literally listed as questionable every night. Like
Yeah.
I do not remember the last time he wasn't questionable. Maybe he doesn't play because Indiana is not very good. Brogdon not been playing. Sumner not been playing. Lamb not been playing. Jakar Sampson is questionable as well. Sampson is dealing with a concussion. I believe I read yesterday that Sampson was with the team but not active yesterday, so maybe he would be back in their rotation today. This game seems kind of gross to me. I guess with Thibault and Korkmaz out, Danny Green is probably he's got minutes upside to like 34 or 35 compared to his normal, 25 to 32. Like I feel like he has got an extra rotation, and then maybe you could argue maybe Seth Curry has a little bit more minutes upside as well with those two guys out. So maybe those guys are decent MME stabs, and then obviously anytime Embiid plays, Embiid is going to be one of the 3 highest projected players of the slate. Are you really into Karis LeVert as the primary ball handler for the Pacers? I guess the problem here is Ben Simmons on ball defense for LeVert tonight is not great.
Yeah, no, it isn't. It's also Sabonis against Embiid, or I can't imagine them doing Brissett against Embiid. Brissett's like 6'6". He's like 6 inches taller than me. I just can't imagine that being a thing. They're going to have to put Sabonis on him. It's not that Embiid is a great defender, Davis. It's just that he's also one of the bulkier guys, and he can handle Sabonis. So, yeah, there are some matchup concerns. The thing is, the volume for LeVert and Sabonis is going to be through the roof, as it's been here of late without Malcolm Brogdon. And they are also playing for something. Right now, they're going to be in the play-in tournament regardless, but they might be able to eke out a home game in that sort of scenario, and that's about the best they can do at this point. They did play yesterday, didn't they? So this is a back ender for them in a tough matchup. No, it's not the best spot in the world whatsoever, but the opportunities are going to be there. Hoping that their ownership is going to be kept in check because of that. If that's the case, I'm going to be interested again. If they are going to be, massive chalk because of what they've been doing lately, it's an 11-gamer. There's going to be paths for other guys to potentially replace them in winning lineups.
Yeah, no doubt about that. That is a great point. Like if chalk is going to go, if Giannis and Jokic are going to be, the big chalk expensive guys, or if Doncic gets a bunch of ownership, Anthony Davis, whoever. Obviously, Embiid, you would not be that surprised if at the end of the night Embiid is the highest fantasy point scorer in general. So I would definitely make note of that. And Sabonis too. Now Embiid is a great defensive player, but Sabonis is balling right now, dude. Like his usage rate, his assist rate, and everything right now, like he is absolutely crushing it since he has returned from this injury. 72 and 74 draft. Now, granted, that was against Cleveland and Washington. The 76ers are a much more difficult test. But Sabonis, I am a little interested in Sabonis. I would not play Sabonis in single entry or 3 max, but I would probably want a sprinkle of him in tournaments. Do you have anything else on this game?
It's just different, as you mentioned, with those matchups. He's going to have to defend Embiid. That already brings foul trouble risk to the table. Embiid is a guy. He wasn't even available for practice. This we might change our tune completely by 6 o'clock. Him missing practice is kind of ominous. I know he's been trying to play through everything, but Philly at this point, I believe they've wrapped up everything they have to. They're the first seed in the East. There's no movement beyond that. Like they don't have to play Embiid tonight, and in my opinion, that would change my tune a little bit on Sabonis, because that matchup against Dwight Howard, who is someone else that can certainly defend him, but I think he can do much better in that type of situation rather than having to deal with 31 minutes of Embiid on the other side of that.
Yeah, I definitely think that you are right about that. All right, let's move to our other tank spot of the night. We have the Memphis Grizzlies, who are potentially going to be missing Jonas Valanciunas, Jaren Jackson Jr. having his injury management night, and Grayson Allen out as well. They're playing at home to the Dallas Mavericks. So let's assume that Valanciunas does not play, and I know that in the projections, I assume he's in because he's listed as questionable, but let's assume he doesn't play, because this is going to be one of the spots to figure out tonight. You know, Tillman versus Clark. Do they start Tillman? Do they start Clark? You know, what are we thinking in general with the Grizzlies rotation?
Yeah, so the Grizzlies updated their injury report and had Valanciunas as doubtful. So I removed them.
Okay.
And I believe that Tillman is going to be your starter at center here for Memphis. I know Clark has been playing a little bit more than him of late. Maybe he'd get the start, but I think they'll go with Tillman, who's
you need Tillman for defense. You need Tillman.
Yeah.
You need Tillman against Porzingis. Clark gives up like 5 inches to Porzingis, I think.
Well, Porzingis is not playing for Dallas tonight.
Well, there we go.
But they will have Willie Cauley-Stein and Dwight Powell. You know, you don't really worry about those guys necessarily. But I think this is a spot for Tillman at these cheap price tags, especially on DraftKings at 3,600, where you can play multiple centers. I think that might get pretty popular. 28 and a half sort of minutes probably coming his way. Upside for a little bit more. Clark just hasn't shown much this season. So the only way you're really considering Clark is if he would start over Tillman. And they're essentially the same price tag on DraftKings. So that is a potential value spot for sure, Davis. Beyond that, we should get Bane in the starting lineup. We've seen a little bit of yo-yoing going around between Bane and DeAnthony Melton minutes. It just comes down to who's playing better, really. And Bane, he doesn't do much else outside of shoot the three. So he's not going to have a good night.
He's a 3-and-D guy. That's literally like he does not have any ball handling responsibilities. It's no secondary pick and roll, any of that. He's just 3-and-D.
Yeah. So exactly. So, you know, Melton, because he handles the ball, because he can run into some stocks at sometimes, I think that would be, from a fantasy angle, my preferred guy at these price tags, as long as he doesn't get overly popular, because that's what people like to do, right? All of a sudden they see a couple guys out and it's Melton season. But there's minutes downside for both of these guys, as well as upside if one of them can play well.
Yeah. All right. And then on the Dallas side, I mean, you know, Luka does get these great projections without Porzingis, but I mean, literally, is anyone more frustrating in daily fantasy right now than Luka Doncic? Like, just regularly he's tossing out 30s. I mean, he is so frustrating.
Yeah, it is. His assist rate has been coming down too. It's been this way all season. It's like some of the games he puts it together for really big opportunities, and some of the others, the assist rate tanks. The usage rate is still great. Rebounding rate has been coming up without Porzingis. But with Luka, you want to have all three be pretty great, especially for the price tags that you're paying. Good matchup, all of that. Obviously, Dallas right now, I'm checking the standings. They're in 5th place. They're essentially just holding off Portland and the Lakers. Lakers are not going to be able to catch up. I don't believe Portland can. They're absolutely playing for something. So you could see Luka play 36 to 38 minutes. Same with a lot of their starters, as long as they're playing well. Like Tim Hardaway could play 34, 35 if he's shooting really well. The question will come down to price tags, Davis. It's an 11-gamer. There are going to be some other studs on the slate that are a little bit safer. Someone like Steph Curry, obviously, who's put up monstrous rates. Golden State still playing for something. They're playing on the second night of a back-to-back, but Curry at this point is a safer asset than Luka Doncic.
Yeah. All right, moving on to the next game, we have the Brooklyn Nets on the front end of a back-to-back against the Chicago Bulls. The Nets fully healthy, rotation now. Kevin Durant playing, a ton of minutes, 41 minutes against Denver, 36, 40, 40, 36 over his last 5. He is fully operational Death Star Kevin Durant. That's obviously had a pretty negative impact on Kyrie. Well, not even really. I guess I was going to say a negative impact on Kyrie's fantasy points, but because the rest of their starting lineup is so low usage. I mean, they're playing with guys who literally like Jeff Green could go a whole game without getting a shot and just, be happy to be there at this point. The Bulls have to win out for the rest of the season to make the playoffs. So that whoever they start, if they are playing well, I mean, there is no rest. There's nothing. These guys got to be completely balls to the wall. I got to be honest. I am a little interested in Vooch. I am a little bit interested in Levine, but I mean, the Bulls have to win. So crazy minutes for their starters here are in play. I got to say, I love Durant. This does feel like a great spot for Durant because the Nets, I think, still do have some incentive at this point. I guess I need to look at the Eastern Conference standings to confirm that.
Yeah, you're right. You're right because they are fighting off Milwaukee for that second seed.
I'm right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. I mean, Durant. It just feels like Durant is 9,900 and Sabonis is 2,600 or 10.4. Embiid is 10.8. Giannis is 10 points. Would you rather play Luka or Durant straight up? You'd so much rather play Durant right now. It just feels like Durant is such a good play here.
Yeah. I mean, of course, especially with the minutes that he's playing, and everything. I meing, he's playing like 2-3 more minutes than Luka, essentially on a routinely basis at this point because Brooklyn is actually playing for something. Dallas is as well, but they've also been part of some blowouts here of late. But even then, Luka typically just maxes out at something like 38, whereas Durant can max out at 40. Like every little advantage right now feels like it's going Durant's way. I don't mind playing that straight up, even though Luka's probably going to project a little bit better simply because of the opportunity set for him. But as you mentioned, with this Brooklyn lineup, it's Durant and Kyrie who are doing everything. Their assist rate has been coming down because they're now playing on the same lineup, and they have Blake Griffin starting at center who handles the ball a little bit as well. But their usage rates have been great. Minutes have been great. So you're not really worried about the minutes here at all. And as you mentioned on the Chicago side, they have to play their guys big minutes, especially Vooch and Levine, who just came back from having COVID, but already played 35 minutes the other night. So you do have to feel pretty darn great about this game environment. It's probably one of the better ones in the entire slate.
Yeah. I think those thoughts are correct. And I think, provided it doesn't get an absurd amount of ownership for an 11-game slate, I think this is a pretty good spot to attack. All right. Orlando, Milwaukee, giant spread here. Obviously Orlando, no Terrence Ross. Wendell Carter Jr. is questionable. He's had an injury to his left eye. Mo Bamba has been on fire. Did very poorly against the Timberwolves in that gigantic blowout. They just have a bunch of dudes out. Ennis is out. Chumo Kiki's out. Michael Carter Williams is out. Otto Porter Jr. is out. They just have so many injuries. But I honestly, the guy to play here is Giannis. I mean, if this game stays close, Giannis is going to go super nuclear because he's been fantastic anyway. They just have been in a bunch of blowouts.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're right. Also, Milwaukee played yesterday. They haven't given us an injury report. If I had to guess, Giannis is probably not going to be available for a game against Orlando here.
That's a good call. That's a very good call.
I mean, they are at home. They are going to win this game without Giannis. It's not going to matter. Orlando's not trying to win a game at this point. They do have Wendell Carter Jr. as questionable on the injury report for Orlando. which would impact Bamba directly. He needs Wendell Carter Jr. to be out. He needs as many minutes as possible right now because he's really expensive now. He's in the 7 range on DraftKings, 8K range on FanDuel. He needs all the minutes he can handle. I would probably take a stab if Wendell Carter Jr. was out. I can't imagine touching him if he is, because he could max out at like 27, 28 minutes, and you just can't have that happen in that pricing range. For Milwaukee, you know, if Giannis plays and the game stays close, you need both of them to occur. I think he would be really interesting. It's a great matchup. No one's going to be able to stop him. It's just a matter of the minutes, just a matter of how much Milwaukee wants to push this right now. Those are legitimate question marks at this point. Yesterday, they got blown out to the Spurs. It feels like they're coasting at this point. So that's a little bit of a concern on an 11-game slate. You don't want to get exposure to a team that is coasting and the minutes are a problem. But the ownership could be pretty nice there. If Giannis doesn't play, someone like Bobby Portis starts, you're obviously interested in that scenario, right? Bobby is a guy that's going to be part of their playoff rotation, but he's cheap. He gets good rates. That's the type of guy that I'd be really interested if Giannis was ruled out.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, I think that should be good for that game. I would just say, so it's 4:12 Central Time as I'm talking to you right now.
Mm-hmm.
18 minutes from now, we're gonna get the injury report, and some of these Bucks are not gonna play. So we'll respond to it then. Phoenix, Golden State. All right, here's the Davis Maddock 5-star gold GPP play of the night. Curry. Curry is dude, he is nuclear right now, and his scoring has been nuclear regardless, right? 36, 49, 34, 37, 41, 30, 37 points over the last month of the season. If he has one of these games where his teammates are making shots when he passes him the ball, he does not have one game with 10 assists over the last month of the season. That seems crazy, right? For a point guard. I feel like he's got an 80-pointer lurking in here in one of these games where he scores, 45 real points and, let's say six rebounds, 11 assists, whatever. Like his usage rate and his minutes right now are so good as the Warriors make this final push. I love him here. I think his minutes should be extended. 5-point spread against Phoenix. This game is super important for them. I love Curry tonight. And I know, obviously, Chris Paul defense and everything, but, I mean, come on. Chris Paul is not stopping Steph Curry.
No, yeah. I mean, what you said there is equivalent to saying, essentially, like Westbrook is a good play on any of these slates. Like, yes, of course, everyone's going to be trying to play this dude tonight. I mean, realistically, Davis,
but that's the thing, though. Westbrook in these spots is like, even an 11-game slate, if Westbrook was playing tonight, no Beal, he'd be in the big $20 on DraftKings. He'd be 55%. Curry will be like 25% or 30%, I bet.
Like tonight, no Westbrook tonight, right?
No Westbrook tonight. I bet he'll be like 30% in the big $20. More than that in single entry and free max stuff. But still, I mean, I think he is the best guard play tonight for sure.
Yeah, I mean that is just not a hot take whatsoever. You don't have to compete with Westbrook tonight. It is second night of back-to-back for Golden State, but essentially they're going to be in the play-in. They can't really make any further movement beyond where they're at right now. They're in 8th place. What they can do is stay at 8th. They're not going to catch the Lakers. But they're essentially right, like neck and neck with Memphis for 8 and 9. 10, the Spurs are not. The Spurs are not catching up to these guys. So it's essentially just trying to stave off Memphis at this point, which I think they can. But yeah, I mean, their rotation is going to be really condensed. They're only playing, essentially eight guys. Right now, they're not playing more than that. They're not playing the Nico Mannions of the world if the game is close. They're gonna go with the rotation that they've been using here, of like regardless of the second night of back-to-back. Outside of potentially it being a blowout. If that were to happen, yes, they're going to extend the rotation and things are going to get screwy. But we can't expect that in this game. I think it's going to be competitive. Phoenix also trying to play for the first seed in the Western Conference. It's kind of it feels like now it's more of a lock that Utah gets there in terms of them being first place. Phoenix had a chance, but it feels like they might have screwed themselves there. If they win tonight, okay, they'd be a game back from Utah, and they'd have the tiebreaker if they can tie them. So both teams having to play for something here is great. Going to be a great game environment. Curry, Draymond would be my top Golden State guys. Toscano Anderson, I want to play him. Challenges the price tags are now inaccessible. I wish he was like in the 4K range on this slate so we could have a conversation. I think he's out of it. Bazemore, if you were to find an attractive price tag, I think he'd be in play as well. Wiggins, I'm probably out on that in tournaments. Phoenix is really the more of the question mark, Davis, because they don't have a fantasy performer like Curry, right? They have Booker, they have Paul. Obviously, they're great players. They're just not at the level of fantasy performance as someone like Curry. But their price tags reflect that as well. So I think Paul, Booker, Ian is a little bit too expensive for me. But I think Paul and Booker are squarely in play in MME in this slate. You could conceivably play one of them in single entry 3 max, but I think that might be pushing it.
Yeah, I think my thoughts align with you pretty nicely there. The guy who I'm most interested in for tournaments on the Phoenix side would be Ayton. I just feel like you're talking about he should see 35-ish minutes in a competitive spot here, and he would be. I mean, what is Ayton going to be on 2% in lottos? Maybe. I mean,
he'll be super low owned.
Yeah. And then, I think both of the Phoenix guards are interesting to me, but they are way taxed up, like 8,200, 7,800 for those guys. Like I would rather play Edwards than either one of them. Even Buddy Hield with his minutes and his usage right now. I think I would prefer them, so which by the way, we're going to get to it in a second. How much does it break your brain to see DeLon Wright priced at 8,000? Like, isn't that the most incredible thing? It's so bizarre. All right. The marquee game of the night that's ruined a little bit by our friend LeBron James not playing. We have the New York Knicks playing at the Los Angeles Lakers. So for the Lakers, no Schroeder, no James. Then we have questionable tags on Kuzma and Taylor Horton-Tucker. I believe Taylor Horton-Tucker didn't play the other night, but is probable now. And then Kuzma is listed as probable. So we're almost a full rotation here other than LeBron and Schroeder for the Lakers. I continue to think last couple of nights for Anthony Davis, 61 and 77 DraftKings points. I think he is the mega chalk forward/center play tonight for sure.
Yeah, I'm with you. Here's the thing: we had been touting Davis before the crazy performances happened, and the ownership was going to get there, and now he's putting it together. Right at some point, this was going to happen. Now it's just a challenge of it's probably going to get owned because everyone saw it. Everyone saw it happen once. Everyone now saw it happen twice. He's been playing at a very, very Anthony Davis like high level over the last few games here. Lakers still, I mean, they obviously have a lot of incentive to win this game. But right now, they're sitting in 7th place in the Western Conference. Going top 6, Davis, you essentially are not part of the play-in. So they would have that incentive. The thing is, they'd play like the Clippers potentially in the first round of the playoffs, which is tough. But at least that's a series. Whereas the play-in tournament, it's gambling. We're gambling. It's a game 7 of both of those games. So the Lakers do have something to play for. Obviously, the Knicks right now are playing for their lives because they might finish out here in 6th place if things go awry for them. So it's not looking great there, but now they catch the Lakers while LeBron. They'll have a chance. Minutes are going to be great here. AD has a shot at playing 38 to 40. I think Caruso is another guy that could play 34 to 36. KCP has been playing lots of minutes. I think those guys are going to get a lot of run for the Lakers tonight. Someone like Drummond, less so because he's been splitting center minutes three-way with Gasol and Harrell, which is that's not what you want in DFS, not a three-way split.
I gotta be honest. This game seems like a good game to watch, like a good a good TV game, but not necessarily a game I am running
for DFS.
running to play in DFS. So I guess let's go ahead and move to our final game of the night, the Oklahoma City Tankers against I guess the Kings. I mean, dude, my brain is actually broken. Seeing DeLon Wright at 8,100 is actually breaking my brain. 33, 39, 55, 55 DraftKings points over the last week for him. I mean, it's so absurd. It feels impossible, but he is doing it. Oklahoma City is terrible. Not only are they not playing Shea, now they're not playing Dort. They randomly removed Ty Jerome from the rotation one night. Who knows why? Like literally to start a guy whose name is Charlie Brown. I mean, it's Pacheco. It's amazing. It is amazing the lengths.
Davis in his excitement exited out of the show. Oh my goodness, this is an all-time moment as he was tilting Oklahoma City with Ty Jerome getting benched in favor of Charlie Brown Jr.
I was so tilted. I accidentally closed it because I can't believe that this is what has happened to my favorite team, that we are here with Charlie Brown Jr. starting. Which, by the way, I'm looking at what they're planning on doing tonight. I think he might start. I think Charlie Brown might start because I think they're going to sit Dort and they're going to sit. Theo is already out. So it's either going to be Kenrick Williams or Charlie Brown starting. I think.
Yeah, it won't be Kenrich. They're trying to rest them and give the younger guys like Gabriel Dak and stuff. Dak came from Europe, and
he might be good. He might be good. I think they feel good about him.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know about Charlie Brown Jr. though. Listen,
I cannot believe some of the things that the Thunder are doing. They are being so blatant in the tank. It's like they've moved on from. They were literally like, Al Horford, we don't even want you to play. Like you can practice with us, but we literally don't even want to deal with listing you on the injury report. So we're just saying you're not playing. You are not a member of the team, which it's just incredible. It's incredible.
Like literally collect paychecks and we like, dude, you have free time. Like what's better than that right now while getting paid? Honestly, it is truly mind boggling. Did you know though that the Thunder are actually 5 games ahead of the Rockets this season? In the Western Conference,
they won. It's because they won a bunch of games when they were trying to tank. They won. I think they won like 6 games without Shea. Like with Shea not in the line, it's just amazing. It's
like
amazing.
Thor playing, like the regular rotation is playing. Yeah, dude. But let's cut that off. We can't really have these wins. Listen, man. OKC, this is tough. They do have Dort and Jerome on the injury report as questionable. So, I mean, and Dort when available now, right? When we were liking him and he was playing 34 minutes, great. Now when he's available, he's playing like 26 to 28.
Yeah, he's playing like 24 minutes because they're worried that he might make too many shots or something.
Like, dude, it's so tough to go there on an 11 game slate to go to OKC.
They're the only Thunder player who would be playable is if Dort doesn't play and whoever else starts at point guard, whether it be Svi, whether it be Charlie Brown, literally a guy named Charlie Brown. He's out, bro. He's out.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
I So Theo's out. Dort's out.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't, dude. I can't. So all of this is to say Buddy Hield, I think is a gold star play because he's going to be defended by absolute ghosts. Whatever shot Buddy Hield wants to get up tonight, he's going to be able to do. He is questionable for this game. He sprained his ankle. I think he should be fine. And his minutes and usage with Fox, Halliburton, and Harrison Barnes out has been wild. And Terence Davis too, if he plays and Barnes does not. I think he looks pretty good as well.
Yeah, Barnes doubtful. I'm seeing Buddy as probable on the 130. Is that what you're seeing as well?
I saw questionable. Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, it looks like you're right, like in terms of him playing, because he is probable. Barnes doubtful. So you should get the same rotation we've been getting out of the Kings here lately. It really, this is just going to come down to, can OKC make it close? Because if so, then you will get Buddy 38 to 40, DeLon Wright in that same range. We've seen some pretty big Bagley games, but Metu's back. So if he's just not playing well, he can get coffined, like unlike DeLon and Buddy Hield, right? Those guys are just going to play a bunch regardless. Terence Davis has shown a little bit of a ceiling on the minutes and performance here of late as well. I think, if you find a decent tag out of him, I can't imagine. It's going to be tough now that he's put some good games together. But if you find a decent tag, you might be able to do that. But this is really going to come down to DeLon and Buddy Hield. It's just DeLon is really expensive now. But the level of performance, obviously, is just at a different level now because you're getting him at such a big minutes output almost every night. And the rates are all up for DeLon. This isn't Toronto DeLon. This isn't Dallas DeLon. This isn't even Detroit DeLon. This is just a different one. It's more rates going around, more minutes. But the challenge now is that price tag. You're going to need like 50 plus to feel pretty confident about the thing.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, there we go. It's been a long day. We're an hour and a half out from lock. We got more. You were about to get absolutely smacked with news over the next hour and a half. I have no doubt about it. So Godspeed. Good luck to you. Good luck to everyone on the slates tonight. And Pacheco and Andrew will be back tomorrow.